Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to the Hockey Nation live show. This is called Frenchy, directly from the booth. And of course, our co-host directly from the West Coast, California, Michael Devillano. Welcome. And the show, Michael.
We have a really important day because we're talking about the Florida Panthers.
Today is about the Panthers. We see what's going on over there. We have a new manager called Bill Zito, second year of Joel Canville. A lot of things we don't know too much what's going on, but we have to be sure you're going to bring a couple of great, information about the team, what happening since a lot of movement, to be honest with you, with that team, and they're still talking a lot, and we'll see what happening with them. So really interesting for what Bill is doing right now. But before that, we have a couple of news around the league, like we do our first segment in the show, and it's called about the signature of around the league. And yesterday I have a big one from your team, honestly, and also we have another one happening like 1 hour ago. I want to know you, what do you think about that new signature? But let's start with your team, the Red Wing Detroit. The Red Wings signed not a new player, but the winger, 26 years old, maybe 27 soon.
No, 25.
Anthony Manta is signed a 4-year contract.
26, Jesus.
20.8, 5.7 million per year, almost $6 million. So that's pretty good for him.
Very good. Yeah, I think it is.
We already know Manta is first of all he's still a RFA, so he's going to be a UFA at the end of this contract. So it's not like a bridge. I think the reason he got that money is because they really believe he's maybe the top, if not the best three player of this organization, and they really think about him as maybe the future captain, the future one's going to be the role model of that team over there. Unfortunately, he was hurt last season. Honestly, the last 2 seasons, he did not play full year. But he has 16 goals, 22 assists, 38 points. That'll give you I'll be honest with you, that most bring you an average about 65 to 70 points maybe. He can able to do it because it's a 0.88 point per game, right?
Wait, so first off about him, he's a big guy. He's like 6'5". He really has great hands. He's always been a big goal scorer. He's shown he can score at the NHL level. So he legitimately, if he ever played a full season, would probably be a 30-goal scorer. And maybe he'd flex up because when you watch him, he dominates shifts. And without him, they're a very different team.
You're absolutely right. I want, before you jump on it, I think you bring a good point. He scored 25 goals last season of 67 games. He scored 24 goals and in 80 before that. And also, you said 6'5", but you forgot to mention he's 234.
He's a big man. He's very dominant in the offensive zone.
I feel like he's almost like, because he's not a center, right? And he's almost like the Lendrose size, like Keith Primo, those guys, like
a little bit.
You know what I mean? Like big guy on the middle of the line.
He's not like a stand-around player. Like he will stick handle and he'll control the puck, and he uses his body very effectively to keep men away from it. And he gets his shot off, and he can shoot the damn puck hard. He can score. So if he can stay healthy, he's just had some really stupid injuries. Like I think he broke his hand fighting one time. So you worry that, and we see this sometimes with big guys where they just keep getting hurt, and it's a hard thing to break. So I don't know. I think you worry that he's very injury prone. So otherwise, like if he was healthy, the guy might be a $7-8 million player, but he's not. He's 5'7", and I think that's a safe number. You hope that he plays a full season. If he does, then they're a very, very good team.
He played almost 19 minutes per game last season.
Yeah, he is dominating. When you see him in there, he's not a stand around in front of the net tip type guy. Like he's in the play, he gets the puck, he controls it, and he's not a bad playmaker.
He scored 6 goals, 7 goals, 9 goals on power play.
Yep, he's a good player. So I think again the worry is this guy ever going to be healthy? I think it's a team friendly number. It's a very little gamble on the Red Wings side, and there's probably upside. Like if he can, stay in the game, that top line of Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Mantha is legit. If they can build any secondary scoring around them, like with Zadina, Fabry, and Nemenstikov, man, they could be a decent team. Like they would be competitive. They're not going to be a 39-point team like they were last year.
No, he knows his role. He knows his role. He got the money because the role he bring for the Red Wings, and to get him for 4 years at 5.7, it's a great set for Steve Yzerman. Like I mentioned to you, I think it was yesterday about Yzerman. That's what he did with Tampa. He's never give a lot of money to someone. Over $9 million over there. They really respect. He knows how this works, and I think that's the way to do this.
He's planning, right? He's looking at the next 4 years. These guys are going to fall off in a year or two, and this guy's going to be here for 4 years, and what do I build around it? So he's got a little system going on. And I think that's a great number. Like you think in 3 years, if that guy's a 30 or 40 goal scorer, you're like 5.7 will be cheap.
Yeah, no, it's a good signature for both of them. I think for him, he's a transition to go UFA after that. And if he can get that kind of number, 60 points per year for 4 years with 20-25 goals, I believe at that moment the salary cap will be better, the money will be back normal, and I think he is able to get maybe a $7 million at that moment.
Probably, yeah. Like, there's a lot to be determined in 4 years, right? But you can see in 4 years, in 2 years, you could have conceivably a top 6 with Mantha, Bertuzzi, Larkin, Raymond, Zadina. Fabry might drop out of that discussion, or he might stay in it, but he probably drops out. And then they figure out like.
And then you have the 2 defensemen,
Spider and
yeah.
Yeah, and then Roenick is obviously there. And then you also have still, and if your third to second line has Rasmussen and Veleno, like.
No, it's a good for both of them. I think it's great, and good for him also. He's originally from Longueuil and Montreal area.
Yeah.
And
his grandfather is like Marcel Pronovost, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yep, exactly. Talking about signature, talking about the Red Wings, we have to go with what happened at 9:15 maybe this morning. Signature from just surprised me a little bit, but not really. But the New York Islanders signed the defense Ryan Pulock, $10 million 2-year contract, $5 million per AAV per year. The 26 years old defenseman, regular, honestly, score 9 goals, 10 goals every year.
Yeah.
He's at more like 9. He scored 9, 10, 9, and 10. And he always been 32, 37, 35 points.
Yeah.
As he does. Really great defenseman. Played 22 minutes per game.
Got a big shot. He can really shoot the puck. Like he's physically strong.
And played well on defensive side. Look,
absolutely.
21 last season.
So it took him a little while. He had some family tragedy that he had to deal with, and I think that kind of slowed him up a little bit. But now the last 3 years, to your point, like this guy is money in the bank for 10 goals a year. He can play on the power play. He can lug the puck, and he's tough defensively. Like he's a good D. It's a good number, actually. Like it's more than he had before, but it's a good number for the team. I'm surprised it's only 2 years, but.
And also he was first round pick, by the way.
No, he was a highly touted player. Like I don't know if you know the story about.
My point to you is sign him, right? But for $5 million now. They have Nick Leddy at 5.5 and also Johnny Bolchuk.
Yeah.
At $6 million there. Yeah. And 2 years, Michael, not this year, not the following year. So year number 3, right? They have the 4 defensemen, Hickey, Bullock, Leddy, and Bolchuk are all UFA.
Yeah, I mean, the Boychuk one's starting to get expensive. So, but they only have 2 years, right? They have this year and next year, so you're not too worried about it. It'll probably be a lockout shortened. They might have pay less, right? Like all contracts might be a lot less.
But
so that's the other thing to think about. They're going to be in good shape. I mean, Hickey is done, I think. So really, you got Pulock is who you're worried about.
I believe maybe they should let it go, and I don't know what would be the money situation with
Boychuk.
So I don't
just
know.
Ride it out. I think he's still a good D. He's obviously not worth $6 million.
Yeah, but the problem with $6 million, Michael, is because now they have to get Barzal.
So don't they? How much they have left? They have 7 or 5 million. 5 million. So you can see what they're trying. They're going to do the same thing with Barzal and try and get him at 2 years at 5. They're going to have to move somebody out. Like
so
they've got a lot.
You said.
I think they move out Andrew Ladd, to be honest.
No, my question to you: current cap space 5-1, right?
Yeah, but I think they got
project cap space. What is fun between when you said projected? Is it because they have another players to sign, or they have the money hiding or something? What?
Let's see. Why did they say projected? So they signed the goalie. Do they have anyone that is going to go on long-term IR?
They have no.
Maybe it's because of bonuses.
Is it what you said that they expect like someone at the bottom, like a roster, make the roster, or the 23-player roster they have?
I mean, they have Wallstrom and they have.
Right now they have 21 this morning.
Yeah, well, Wallstrom and Bellows will likely. You would think they're one of those guys will be on the lineup, but I don't know who goes out. Like you've got Komarov at $3 million. Is Casey Zizekas? I don't know how long term his injury is, and then Andrew Ladd was out most of last year, but he came back obviously. So I'm kind of surprised.
If you look about this, they have a bad contract. Like Andrew Lamb, they still have 3 years, 25. They have.
Everybody's ridiculous. 5 times.
Like Kluderbach at 3.5 and Sizika at 3.5 and Komarov at $3 million. Right there, it's a lot of bad one. You have Bouvier at 2.1 over there. I think those 3 kids, I can say, I think,
Clutterbuck's looking very expensive.
And Bolchak, it's time to go.
Yeah, Clutterbuck's looking very expensive now. Casey got a 20-goal season, then he got 10 goals in 48. So Zizekas, I understand why he's getting that because he's probably a 15, 20 goal scorer at this point in a full season. So that doesn't bother me too much. And everything else he does is, off the charts. So I think for me, the money is to Andrew Ladd. Like I'm surprised they didn't buy out Ladd. I can see where they would think about Boychuk, but they only have 2 years, so they might just ride it out. Hickey, does Hickey even play anymore? Oh, is Hickey? Yeah, he played 14 games in the AHL. So I think that something happens with Hickey. Is he on long-term IR? No. Anyway, we'll talk about another time. But there's something there on that roster that Lou Lamoriello is calculating it, right? He knows. So I think there's something. It might be Hickey because I think Hickey might go in long-term IR. Or they bury that contract somehow. And then you question, what happens with an Andrew Ladd or, they seem committed to Eberle, which...
He did not play last year.
That's what I'm saying. So I think Hickey comes off. So I think they're thinking they'll get Barzal for 2 years, $6-7 million. If they were really aggressive, they should have moved Andrew Ladd. Who's that?
How much do you give to him?
Barzal? Like I said, I think if they got him for 2 years at 6 or 7 a year, that's that would kind of eat up the 5 plus maybe $1.5 million too for Hickey. They might have to move out another player, but I would think that would be Andrew Ladd, or it could be Boychuk, but I don't know if they have anyone to replace Boychuk. So it's something he'll make some moves like that. And Komarov, they still haven't signed Matt Martin, right? They want to sign Matt Martin.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pulak deal might be a indication that they're thinking the same thing with Barzal. Get him for 2 more years. At the end of it, he'll still be RFA, I think. So they probably lock him up for 2 at like 6 or 7, and then he gets his big contract. It's probably a bad year for Barzal to get a big contract.
Hold on. Sorry.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, we can talk about when we review them, I guess. We're not that far away from them.
Of course. So it's a big signature for them. It's good for him. I think he got a little bit more not really, because at $5 million, you get what Tyson, like those guys and everything like that. He's maybe the top best defenseman of that team. Maybe not if not the best defenseman, right?
Yeah, he's a good contract. I think people don't realize how good he is.
Exactly. 26, really I think the prime of the defenseman, at least if you're not like I think if you're not like Quinn Hughes or the young where they are the super talent, right? But a defenseman take about 23, 24, 25 before they really reach their full capacity, their full potential, I believe.
Like I don't know if you know the story of his brother, of how his brother died in the car accident.
Yeah, I know that one.
So I think that really, he was a highly touted guy in the WHL, and he was drafted pretty high, but I think that really held him back early on. He was kind of, that was tough losing his brother in that accident, and it took him a while. And I think that, you see though, the last 3 years, I mean, that type of defenseman's hard to find. Is he a number 1? He's more like a number 2 maybe, but for them, he might be a number 1,
Yeah. And honestly, when you look at I'm watching the buyout details, right, of Andrew Lamb, they don't save anything.
So then there's no benefit.
Yeah, no benefit there. They will cap hit. It will be $4.8 million.
That might be enough. He didn't play all last year.
That point, like saving $666,000 for Barzal is not helping a lot. Now,
he saved? What did they save? $1.2 million? Is that it?
They save only $600,000.
Wow, that's nothing. They're not going to buy him out then. They'd have to do some sort of a deal. What about Everly?
Who?
Everly, man, that contract's terrible. That's a garbage contract. I would not pay that guy.
Oh no, he's good, Everly.
What? Come on, he's junk.
$5 million. He's cheap.
What did he score last year?
What?
How many goals did he score?
13, 14.
Exactly. And that's a guy that's only good if he scores 30, and he doesn't.
I'm telling you now, he's a good player. You don't give him enough credit.
I give him all the credit. He plays with the puck.
But let's move on with a couple of news around the league. Now we got about the signature. We're going to go around the league. I want to mention a couple of things, what's going on. First of all, talking about the Eberle, let's go move on with the New York Rangers. Just cross the bridge. We're going to talk about what's going on over there. And we talk about today about Ryan Strome. They filled their paperwork for the arbitration, and the Rangers asked $3.6 million. And Ryan agent requests $5.7 million.
That's pretty good. I think, they're going to go somewhere in the middle, and that'll be fair. The question is, do they still keep him? But I like Ryan Strome. He fit very well with Panarin. He's a good two-way centerman. He's shown when you play him with good players, he can score more. Yeah,
the airing is tomorrow. They said the middle point of the filling, is 4.6.
Yeah, that's not a bad number. I don't know. I think he's worth that. What did he get last year? You have 55 or 60 points?
Yeah, no, he have a good season. He's a top 6 over there.
Yeah.
4.5, 4.6. I think it was, 4.2. It's a big number there. It's a $2.1 million. So if you go there, it's about, 4.65. It's a 50-50 between both. But I think he can get 4.3 to 4.5. That'll be good for him. He's going to get 1 year. And then I believe he's going to become a UFA. I could be wrong. I'm not checking yet in front of me.
Yeah, probably. He's got a lot of good miles under his belt. He's a good two-way center. He can win faceoffs. It was dumb of the trade that Edmonton made, like that was a Peter Chiarelli silly move where they were burying him on the third line and he could have played on their second line. They were like, we need a second line center. Wait, what? You had the guy. You traded for
you scored 19, 18, 18. He has like 34, 33, but last season had 60 points, 59 points.
He can play.
Yeah, I think he played very well. He played with Panarin, if I remember, last season. And
that's why, like, you look at in Edmonton, they were playing him with garbage players.
Yeah,
like he was on the third line. He was playing with like Lucic, and he was playing with like maybe if he's lucky, like Cassian or Chason or someone like that. And he was getting 13, 14 minutes a game, and he was still getting 13 goals and like 30 points. And he was good two ways. He won a lot of faceoffs.
Yep.
So that was a mistake, and he's gone and he's done great. I mean, he's a good centerman.
Exactly. Talking about news around the league, I believe the Detroit Red Wings are not done. They have still a lot of money on their belt. I think they're going to find someone else, like maybe 1 or 2 years. They're going to add 1 or 2 players, I believe.
I hope not.
Talking about the Dallas Star, the rumor yesterday or the talk was about a long time for Ben Bishop and Tyler Seguin over 5 months.
Yep.
That's a big news there. They paid a price for the final, all the way to the finals. But, Ben Bishop, they are, to have Kubinin in the net for a couple of months, that would be fine for them. But losing Tyler Seguin, it's a big loss for the team when he's, top center over there.
Not help, right? Like they might miss the playoffs.
I'll be really, you know what? It dropped on my power ranking. I'm going to bring to you in the next couple of days, but it's going to be a big loss for them, honestly.
Sure. They do have depth, right? Like they didn't have any offense from him. They still have Pavelski. They still have Rupe Hens, and they still have Faxa.
Yeah.
So they might be okay.
But again, you know what I mean? Like,
doesn't help.
You talk about a good player over there losing him. It's not easy to, take his place or anything like that. So it's a big loss for them. I feel like he's, about that one. Talking about the hurt injury, we need to talk about the healthy player and the good news for the Winnipeg Jets. Mark Sheffield. Sheffield says he's 100% healthy, ready to come back and see what's happening over there. So that's good news for them, honestly.
He is one of the best. Like he might be top 8 in the NHL. Like that guy is really good.
Absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think he bring a lot, and we'll see what's happening over there for them. Honestly, they miss him during the playoff. I think that's one reason. I'm not saying that's one reason, but I think it's a one.
Oh yeah, he's a star, man. That guy is like he's a 6'3" centerman that wins faceoffs, gets big points. He dominates play. Like he's one of the best players in the game. I mean, you just don't get to see him very much. Yep. Like that 1-2 tandem of him and Wheeler is scary. You got a guy 6'3" and a guy 6'5" that have soft hands and can play. And then you got Ehlers and Laine.
Before we jump on the Florida Panthers, I want to mention to you about the RFA A-ring salary arbitration, and I want to mention who is still on the list right now because Bullock is out. Now he signed this morning. Mackenzie Weegar from the Florida Panthers he still did not sign his contract. I know you're going to talk about him, honestly. Then we have 2 players from the New York Rangers. Brandon Lemieux, son of Claude Lemieux, Pepe. And then we have Ryan Strom. We just mentioned about him a few minutes ago. That's another one there. On the Ottawa Senator, we have Christian Jaros. Isn't it a brother to the goalie from Nashville?
I don't.
I'm just
I don't know. That's used
there.
Christian Jews his father played in the NHL. Peter Jews? DJOOS, right?
JAROS.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Hold on, let's look. Oh, Yaros. Maybe. I wonder if he's related. Slovakian. I mean,
Slovakia. So anyway, so here's the last one of the list that you have only for a couple of players now on the list. So it will be the three interesting is, Mackenzie Weegar, and then we have Borgstrom. I think is the one. Lemieux. Lemieux is not like he's a really. What he brings for the Rangers, he fit well what they have for the third line, fourth line. A little bit what Matt Martin, a little bit more skill at Matt Martin, but it's a kind of player like this where he physically and grandeur and grits. He bring like a spark plug and sparks during the game, everything like that. So
he's a little bit of a throwback guy. He's a little undisciplined for today's game.
Yeah,
and he's tough.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's not a bad player. Like, it's just weird. It's like what teams value now is not what he does.
Exactly. No, you're right about that. But I think some team need a player like him.
I think so. I mean, I would have a guy like that. You don't want to play against him.
No. That's your turn, my friend. I'm excited to talk about where I live. Honestly, if people don't know, I live in Florida. I work with a little bit like the youth travel with Florida Panthers and been part of this for over 4 years now, and I know everything was going on over there. So to see to bring that team on the preview today, I'm excited to talk about them. I can give you a couple of hints, but I don't have a lot of hope. My power ranking, I can tell you that they are not going to make the playoff. At least something.
I can't see how.
I can see. I can wait to hear more from what you think about that team and what they're doing about that. And
rough, man.
So let's go with the Florida Panthers with Mike. Let's do it.
All right. So, the big off season was the new general manager in town. So we saw Dale Talon be removed and investigated.
He was clear, right?
Yeah, it was cleared. Yeah. We live in a weird world.
Yeah.
So Bill Zito comes over from Columbus. Sounds like Rick Dudley's back in the mix. I have a lot of respect for Rick. I love him. He's a great guy, and he really is a good evaluator of talent. And he has, I think, prior history with Joel Quenneville, who's one of the best coaches in the game. So we know that they made some interesting non-moves, which was they let Hoffman, they let Dadonov go and not re-sign them. And then they bring in and they make a deal for Patrick Hornqvist. They sign Radko Gudas. They sign Alex Wenberg, who was previously a center that just couldn't get ice time in Columbus and whose stars really fallen and got bought out. And then I think this is a good signing, but I just don't know what his offensive upside is, which is Carter Verhaeghe. And I've totally misspelled his name there. But Carter was, I thought he played very well for Tampa in the playoffs. They have some prospects coming up, as you know. The two big ones that should be on the roster finally would be Owen Tippett and then Denisenko coming over from Russia. I thought they had a good draft by picking Anton Lundell. I think he's a player that can be on the roster sooner than later. A little bit more of a dark horse and not a lock to be on the roster would be Saren Noel, who's a big guy that has traditionally scored, but I think has fallen off in his scoring capability a little bit. So he needs to acclimatize to the program and hopefully recapture some of his scoring capability. Heponiemi is interesting. I don't know if you've seen him, and I'm not sure where he's at in his development. He was pretty highly touted when drafted before, and they would hope that a guy like that would eventually pop through. The real star in the waiting is obviously Spencer Knight, but they don't need him right now, so he's got lots of time because they're pretty good situation for goaltenders. I don't know if there's any other players that we can highlight, but we can kind of
Borgstrom.
Borgstrom, right?
That's the one from VU. Remember him?
Yeah, I like him, and it's Henrik, right? So I think he's a good size, like he's 6'2", 6'3", I think. He's a good skater and a centerman, and I think that you've got to project him to be in this lineup somewhere. There's just too many holes. So it's interesting because if you look at the top line's very good. Hornqvist is a weird fit for me on that line, but maybe they have a game plan there. And I'm guessing that, they got big goals from Dadonov and Hoffman, particularly on special teams. Hornqvist's game is in front of the net and down low. So, maybe they got feedback from the coach, and maybe this is consistent with how Bill Zito sees the team playing. Frank Vetrano is, a good player, but I don't know if he's a top 6. Wenberg, I don't know if he's a top 6. I think the jury's out on that. We saw him in the playoffs. He can still really skate. He's a very good playmaker. He doesn't shoot the puck very well, and he never shoots the puck. So you've got to say he's capable of filling that second-line center role, but he's not going to get a lot of goals. Owen Tippett, on the other hand, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this guy. He's a big guy with a heavy shot. He's got a reputation as a goal scorer. They really need him to pop through and be a 20-goal guy at some point. I'm not sure if he's ready for that. Might take a year of adjustment. Grigory Denisenko is very skilled, smaller player. What will his offensive impact be for year 1? I'm not sure. Carter Verhaeghe, whose name, wow, I totally misspelled. I really like him. Like, he's a good player. He's probably fits well as a third-line player on this team. He's gritty. He can score some goals. I think he can help. He can kind of be like a Connor Brown type guy. Vinny Hinostroza, I like him. He's skilled, but he's small. Brett Connolly, it's interesting how he always kind of falls down the lineup. But he had a lot of goals last year, right? I think he had like 22 or 24 goals. Nolar Asiari, he's pretty good, and I don't really know Sorella, so you might know him more than I do. The D is still pretty deep. We saw that a couple moves. One was to bring over Nudavara from Columbus, so obviously there was a prior relationship there. He's like a typical good skating, finished defenseman who's tough to play. He's got a good active stick, not going to get you a lot of points. He's more to me like a 5-6, but they've got him projected on the top 4, which probably makes sense given who they have. I like Mackenzie Weegar. You mentioned him before that he's going into arbitration, so I'm assuming that he'll be signed. Strawman at this point is still a good defenseman, probably overpaid, but it probably doesn't matter too much on this team. I was kind of surprised at the move to bring in Radko Gudas. I like Radko. He's an ex-Everett Silvertip. He's a big, tough defenseman. He's not an amazing skater. He's not going to give you any offense, but he can log minutes. The big money problem, it's not really a problem, but it is a lot of cash to one guy, which is Sergei Bobrovsky. And I thought this kid, the Drieger guy, was pretty good. I mean, I don't know how much you saw him.
Last season.
Yeah, I thought he played very well as a backup. So I'll skip over to.
And they have also Montembeault.
The Samuel Montembeault, yeah.
And then also they have Spencer Knight. So the goalie side, they are pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're fine from a goalie perspective for sure. I think their biggest issue is obviously suddenly scoring. Like, who's going to score goals on this team?
Huberdeau.
Well, but to what extent?
I don't know. They honestly just finished.
They have a big problem. They don't have scoring depth. They really need Owen Tippett. They really need like a guy like Denisenko, maybe Borgstrom, to surprise them and come up and be a goal scorer. Because it's looking a little rough. Or they need another big year from Connolly. They need a bounce back year from Hornqvist, but I find it hard to believe. Like, he's got a lot of miles on him. He does the dirty work around the net. They have 3 more years at 5.3 with him. So you got to think Barkov and Huberdeau are stars. There's absolutely no doubt about that. They're there for very favorable money, but they're going to waste those years, it feels like. I feel like they've taken a step back offensively. They have a great goalie, but last year he turned his traditionally slow start into a horrible year. And I don't know if the style that they play is helping him, because he was probably in a much tighter system. Now, obviously, Bill Zito knows what he can do because he was in Columbus when he was in Columbus. So, I think that what he's signaling is with guys like Nudavara, Wenberg, he's trying to play a safe game, kind of batten down the hatches so that Bobrovsky has an easier time, and then try to win the game on special teams. That's what it feels like. He's tried to make them a little grittier, and it's going to come down to stay even on 5-on-5 and then beat the other team on the power play. But I'm not sure if they have the horses to do that. I guess we're going to find out. It's going to be interesting. I do like the Anton Lundell draft pick because I believe he could probably step into this lineup and actually have it, help them out. They don't need him, but he seems to me like if you compare him to a Wenberg or a Verhaeghe, like he might be as good as them right now.
Here's the situation with Florida Panthers, and I like. It's not first time I'm going to tell you this. I really love what we're doing because it's go deeper, and I'm seeing things differently about organization, everything like that.
Yeah.
Problem with the Florida Panthers for the last 5 years. They are never been a team make the playoff, right?
Right.
So, but they never been for some reason they never pick at the top 5 or the top 10.
Yeah, they're just good enough to be a bad.
Right? 12, 13, 15, 10, 23, 11. And until 2014, that's the first time they get the top 10 pick in NHL.
Yeah.
All right. And they can go there. The 15, Lawson Crows. They never played for Panthers.
Yeah, which was strange. But that was like a deal with what, Arizona?
Yep.
Was it?
Borgstrom play only 58 games, but never been the player what their expectation was. Honestly, he never been that kind of player. It's funny.
From Soderberg last year.
It's funny. He's a Borgstrom, and he's from he was playing in Finland. That's why. No, he definitely that season. He was in Springfield.
It's weird because Borgstrom's got like a Swedish last name, but he's a Finnish player.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got 2017. You got Owen Tippett, where he played only 7 games at his first year. Since that, he's always never been anything else. He never played. And then the biggest player, I believe, is Grigory Denisenko.
Yeah.
But the last 3 season, he played on KHL. But one thing he did, he dominated the world champion junior. Like
very true. I mean, he's a highly skilled player. I really like him. He's a very good prospect. But you think like it's hard to evaluate him. Like he only had 6 goals in the KHL, but he's young, so they don't play those guys.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a year of adjustment for him. I don't know how much we can count on for him.
But again, if you look about all those drafts, they never have it. Some team get a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, and then boom, they get a top 6 player, a top player right there. But
in Lundell,
I'm sorry.
In Lundell, you mean?
No, I'm talking about for the Panthers. I don't know, like he can go to any team. They always have like Montreal, that Gallagher 5th round, right?
Yeah, so, I mean they've drafted well. I think they drafted well under Talon. Like they're kind of middling, but if you look at these guys, like Tippett's legit, Denisenko's legit, Spencer Knight's going to be a star at some point. Lundell, to me, normally would be a top 6 or 8 pick. So I think they're in good shape. I mean, you've got to think, it's not like they've drafted poorly, but they're not getting another Huberdeau. They're not getting another Ekblad, but they've already paid that price. Like they should be building around these guys and not wasting their best years. Like they've got a top 6 centerman in the NHL. They got a top 4 winger in Huberdeau.
It's because he started with 5-6 years ago with the management, right? You go from Dave Talon, they gave away Gerald Gallen, and then after that they bring Tom Rowe, and then he gave after that Gallen, and then after him you bring Bob Warner, the coach over there, and then what I mean? It's like constantly changing, and I'm there right now. When Barkov and Huberdeau go to the bar and look for the roster, they just want to drink more.
It's just frustrating.
That's my point here, right? So, you talk about those best players, and then you have Aaron and the defenseman over there, where he's the same 23 years old, 24 years old, 25 years old, and they are the prime right now, the prime time of the hockey, and then you get there, like you just show to us about the money situation, defense.
Really, because you think about a year ago, like number one, those 2 guys have very cheap contracts. Like they're both under $6 million. So what they should have been doing, and they had Hoffman and Dadonov, who can contribute offensively, not my favorite players, and probably not the coach's favorite players. But they were big, they could produce big numbers. You had Trocheck. Like, what did you get for Trocheck? Like, it's crazy. You're relying on now. You know what's weird? I did not realize Noel Acciari had 20 goals last year. Is he going to do that again? Did you know that? So that's interesting. Oh, did I lose you? You're on mute or something. Yeah, you're on mute. That's weird. But yeah, I think the big question mark for me is Acciari. I probably penciled in for too little if he had 20 goals last year, but I'm not convinced he'll do that again. Verhaeghe, whose name I have to look.
You have 9 goals in 3 games.
Acciari?
Yeah. Remember the back-to-back hat-trick?
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, and then he was play the first line, second line.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, like, can he get 10, 15 goals again? Do you project him as 20, like, or was that just a fluke?
Nah, he's go to 20. I thought you were talking about Eric Ola, but my point is, he's a 10 goal. He's a third, fourth line. He's not, the point where they are right now, I really believe it's Wenberg can be a good. I like this kid.
But he can't score.
He can score. So he can carry on that one over there.
Wenberg cannot score.
What do you mean he cannot? He scored like 2 years ago.
No, he didn't.
Wenberg?
He is all assists. He cannot shoot the puck.
He have like what?
11
points.
Yeah, if you look, he had high points, but he can't shoot the puck. He had 13 goals was his best year, and then he had 8, 2, and 5.
Yeah, but he had like 40, 50, 60 points, 35 points.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He can't shoot. He's not a scoring threat.
No, but he can bring some offensive on the second line or whatever, third line over there.
Well, that's what they need, but he needs to have players around him that can score. So you have to have a winger that can score for him. Because if you look at who he played with that year,
so why they let it go Ola? Why they let it go Dadonov? Why they let it go Hoffman?
I don't know. But if you look at the year he had 59 points, his winger was Cam Atkinson. And Cam Atkinson had 35 goals. And he's never been able to reproduce that. What's that?
He was not play with Panarin?
Panarin wasn't there yet. He was in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, he came after that?
Yeah, because they had Brandon Saad. And Saad had 24 goals. So it was like Wenberg, Atkinson, Saad was a big line. Nick Foligno had a big year. They had, they started getting goals from Josh Anderson, and still Boone Jenner was like 18 goals. And Dubinsky was still in the mix, but Dubinsky was like, and that Sam Gagner, if you remember, had like 18 goals with them. So that year, it was just a weird, here, I'll see if I can. So I think it was he's never been able to duplicate that. It was like when better players came in, it really kind of doomed him. And he if you watch him, he can't shoot the puck.
Anyway, when you look at the lineup,
he's a pass first guy. So this is back the year when he had 459 points. So I think he can skate very well. He's a good two-way player. I think he's a good playmaker. So that's not a question. He can kill penalties. He's going to get a bigger role in Florida, so you got to think his numbers will jump back up. But he's a risk, right? Like, I don't think you can count on him for more than 13 goals, because that's his best year ever.
And then they have to buy out. They buy out Scott Darling. They still have 3 years of him.
How many teams have given Scott Darling money? So look at this is Wenberg, right? 4, 8, 13, 8, 2, and 5. So he can get assists, but he's a terrible shooter. He just can't shoot the puck. He doesn't shoot the puck. Yeah, so it's a little risky. Like, if you do the voodoo math, like
how do you get the money from him? How do you buy him out?
Well, they signed him to a $4 million long-term contract after he got 59 points. So they were like, oh, this guy's going to be great. But he just got worse and worse and worse. And he was getting moved down the lineup as they got better players. So it was just rough, like it was like it might have been the year after they got Johansson that he had that big year. And then it's never been anything since. So I don't know. I'm struggling to figure out, like, they can't even get to, they need a massive year from Huberdeau and Barkov.
They still pay Roberto Luengo $1 million. No. 2 more years.
Where's that number? I saw that too.
$1 million, 2 more years. But Scott Darlin, the goalie.
That's crazy.
He never played for them. How did he have a buyout history with him?
I don't know. So was that the Carolina contract?
Yes.
Yeah. Because Carolina, maybe they traded the contract. No, you know what it was?
I don't know.
It was the James Reimer deal. So they traded the contract essentially with a 6th-round pick to Florida for James Reimer. So they let Reimer go. They picked up the Darling contract and bought him out.
Do you know that if you trade right now Reimer, you get only $800,000 to pay him this year?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, Reimer is a very good backup, right? Like he's not that expensive, and he's got very good numbers always. Like he's a .915 save percentage. You watch him game to game, and you don't know what the hell you're gonna get. You're like, yeah, he won a game. Oh, he lost us a game.
But why Florida is going to give? They still have. Listen, they have Roberto for 3 more years at $6 million, and Barca for 2 more years. But why do you keep $11 million right now? They have $11.5 million projected keep spending.
I mean, why wouldn't you bring back a Hoffman even? Do they not like him that much?
I don't know.
Now, the other problem with Florida, as you know, is they are traditionally a lower revenue team because they don't have a lot of fan support. And now it's going to
be other can buy the NHL.
So bad.
Like Viala has money, he can buy every freaking state team in the NHL. The guy has $1 billion. He can lose 40-50 million a year. It's like us go to the store. So the guy has the money. They just try to build another ring right now downtown, and then they just play for 7-8 years right now at the BBC Center.
I think what we don't know is what their internal budget is, and if that's an issue.
Right now, they told him to cut it because you can see they don't get Dadonov or Hoffman. Yeah. So they have fun there. Now, they gave $6 million to Joel Kenville. Yeah, man, like, and then they gave also last season, Anton Strandman get $5.5 million. He's 34 years old. And you know what I mean? Like, I can't go all the way like that. And then he said, why we don't play, why we don't perform? Like, start with your draft pick, first of all. Then you go get your draft, your money. I mentioned, we laughed about this yesterday. But when you think about this, do you prefer have Sergei Bobrovsky at $10 million or Panarin at $11 million?
The Bobrovsky we saw last year, you don't want to pay $10 million. I think he's more like 7. So you would take Panarin, who could light it up. Like he would have lit it up. Imagine Panarin with Huberdeau and Barkov. Holy crap. They might score 100 points each.
Listen, Panarin is 29 years old and the one is 32.
But you think about, like, even Chicago. How crazy is Chicago to have dumped him?
Yeah, that's the trade with Brendan Saad. Right?
And then they just gave Saad away to Colorado.
Again, in that years about the money, I believe, Chicago. But the kids like Panarin have 30, 31, 27, 28, 30 to go. You have 74, 34, 77, 74, 82, 87, 95 points.
Panarin is an offensive machine. He's smart. He's creative. He can shoot. He can do everything. Like he's Patrick Kane. They had 2 Patrick Kanes on one team.
So now they have here's Lafreniere on the middle on the left.
Who's that? Oh, in New York?
Next Lafreniere.
Oh, yeah. Like, come on. Rangers are going to be stupid good. And Kakko is going to pop through at some point. You know, they're going to have, and they've kept Strome. They have Krieger, right? Chris Kreider. They got Zibanejad.
Yep.
Rangers look good, you know.
Yeah, he's with the model girlfriend, Alisa Znarok.
That's
so his dad to the girlfriend, like she's a model in Russia. He was an international coach, Oleg Znarok.
Yeah, that's why he wanted to go to New York, was her.
Yeah.
You know, the other one that's interesting they got Buchnevich, but the other one is the guy that came from Carolina, which is Julian Gauthier. Is that his name? Yeah, Gauthier is like, I don't know if you've seen him. This guy, he looks like Anthony Mantha. Like he's 6'5" and he can score. Why would Nicholas Waugh and Julian Gauthier were in Carolina and they let them both go?
I don't know. I think that's enough right now. Let's move on tomorrow.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to finish bottom and third of the league. They're going to try to get a top 6 draft pick.
First of all, I have to give them, right? Bill Zito is a good management guy. So, you know, he's maybe have a contract set to everybody there. Listen, give me 1 or 2 years or rebuild everything like that. She's just like, I don't have confidence in me on Tippett, Borgstrom, Noel.
No.
You know what I mean? There isn't go the next one over there. And now they're thinking maybe to trade Wigard, where I don't why to trade this kid over there. They're better to let go Strawman.
Yeah,
and one sign Bobrovsky for $10 million when you get Spencer Knight, 13th round pick.
Well,
he's going to be in the next Carter Hart, maybe.
Maybe, but he needs time. But Spencer's probably another year away at least.
Yeah, but you signed him for 8 years.
I know.
It's $80 million right there when you have a Panarin over there.
It's crazy. He's already 32. You've already lost the best years of that guy's career.
I know. That's my point on that. All right, great stuff again, Michael. We love it what you're doing. I appreciate for what you're doing here every day about those teams, and it's fun to go there. We are now in the middle of we have 8-9 days team right now already. I don't know who's tomorrow. Honestly, I didn't look about what's the next team. I know it's FG. So
IJ. I don't know who is that. Los Angeles Kings.
You think?
Yep.
I tried to look my stuff here, but no, yeah. You start with the L, and then we have a lot of NN after that.
Yep.
You know, we have Las Vegas. You have a lot of LMN after that right there.
Yep.
Right. So right there. We'll go to hit Montreal at some point.
Pretty soon, LA, Minnesota, and Montreal.
Hey, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Hockey Nation fans, for being with us, watching every day at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Michael, have a great Wednesday. Let's go back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Have an amazing Wednesday, everybody.